Or better yet, have you ever even listened for God? As I'm going to be talking today, you're going to see me moving around at different points. Now, I'm not doing it just to make you dizzy or something. I'm doing it for a purpose. We listen with our ears, but we also listen with our eyes. So if you're listening to me, you might start looking at something else and start thinking about it. But if you focus on me and actually look at where I'm going, then maybe you'll be able to listen a little better too. With that in mind, I want to tell you about a guy named Samuel. Now Samuel was, he was a younger guy. I would say close to my age. He lived in the temple with a man named Eli. And Eli was an older guy, and one night they both went to bed. They slept in the temple. And Samuel went to sleep. And all of a sudden, he hears his name being called. And I don't know how God sounds, but it's something like this. He goes, Samuel. But I don't know if that's true or not. But Samuel hears it. He's like, okay. Walks on over. Goes to Eli's room. Says, here I am. What do you need? And Eli goes, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. So he's like, all right. Go back to bed. And again, here's it again. Samuel. Hey, Samuel. Well, being the guy he is, goes back to Eli's room. And Eli's like, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. So, I mean, he's very obedient. He goes right back to bed. Right back over here. And then another time, picks a third time. Samuel, hey! Eli, what do you need? And it takes this time, Eli's like, it's God. So he tells Samuel, go back to bed, and if you hear your name called again, just say, speak. What do you need? I'm listening. So Samuel goes back to bed. God calls him, and he goes, what do you need? Samuel's very willing to help people. He's always running to Eli, and he finally figured out who God was at this point. But I think we could be more a lot like Samuel here. I think we tend to put on almost blinders, and we're looking for what we want, what we think we need. Not what God wants us to do, or God needs us to do, but what we want. That's not exactly right. We need to start thinking about God, actually. I'll give you an example. In my life, I will not pay attention. You can ask my family, I don't pay attention sometimes. I'll be walking down the hallway of my school, or I'll be just walking to the mall or something, and there'll be someone that knows me. And they'll go, Bryce, hey, Bryce. Okay, keep on walking, don't talk to me. But it's not that I don't want to talk to them. I'm just not looking for them. I don't see things, and I'm thinking about something else at the time. If I could open up my mind, I would not miss a single opportunity to talk to somebody, which is what God wants us to do, is he wants us to not miss an opportunity. Samuel is a great example. But then there's another guy in the Bible, and I know everyone probably knows him. His name is Jonah. Now Jonah heard God. He knew it was God, heard what he had to say, but instead of listening to God, this is what he did. All right, let me pick this up. If God's over there, this is what Jonah did. He got as far away as he could and hid. So much that he got on a boat. He got on a boat and tried to go across the ocean to get away from him. Now, what he doesn't realize is, God is the best hide-and-go-seek player around. You cannot hide from him. It took such extremes for him to be swallowed up by a whale and carried around for him to actually think about, maybe I should listen to God. Well, he gets spit up by this whale, and I don't even want to know how he was looking after that. But he gets spit up, and God calls him again. Let me see here. I've got it. He calls him and says, he called him a second time. Now, he wanted Jonah to go and talk to a city pretty much and help save them. But let me ask you, why do you run from God? Why don't you just listen to him instead? Is it because maybe we're scared? We're scared to go out and do whatever God needs us to do? Maybe it takes us out of our comfort zone, and we don't want to go out and do things because we're scared and out of our comfort zone. We don't I don't want to talk to that person. That person's not like me. Or my favorite excuse I've ever heard is, I don't have time to do God's work. Which is ridiculous, because I've got to memorize. If you go to Mark chapter 1, verse 17, it talks about how Jesus called these men from their boats and said, "Come, follow me." And immediately they dropped their nets, dropped everything they had, and went and followed him. And it says it again right down there, a little longer. He talks to two more people. These two men left their father and their jobs to go and follow him. Not having time is not an excuse. That's not a good excuse, because you have time. You just got to want to do it. And these two stories, though, we have second chances. We're able to, if you look at Jonah, God called him a second time. It took him a few tries, but he gave him another chance. With Samuel, it took Samuel 3 tries to figure out who was talking to him. The good part about what God does that I like is that he gives us chance after chance after chance to do his work. He knows we're not perfect. We're not gonna always hear him, but he wants us to listen. And that's what I really want. If you haven't listened to anything I've said, know that God's listening. Know that he's talking to you. He just wants you to listen and do his work. So let me leave you with this. Have you heard God talking to you? Or better yet, have you actually listened for God?